Terrifier is the next horror icon. Now, we haven't had a new horror icon in a while. Sure, there's arguments for different characters, but I don't think we have. The most recent icon that people consider is Pennywise from the 2017 It remake. Not the original, the remake. Now, I wouldn't personally consider him an icon, specifically the new one, as I said, because one, he isn't part of a franchise. Two movies that could have just been one movie. They split a story into two parts. That's not a franchise. That is one movie. They just split into two parts. I don't know why they did, but they did. And he's also just a worse version of the original. So, yeah, I'm sure you can tell I'm not the biggest fan of the It reboot, but let's move on. As I was saying before I got off topic, ranting about how bad the reboot of It is and how overrated it is, we haven't had a new horror icon in a long time. And Odd is just what we need. Now, obviously, he's no big six, think Leatherface, Jason, Michael, Ghostface, Chucky, or Freddy, but he definitely is in the minor six, which I consider to be Alien, Predator, Candyman, Hellraiser, Saw, and of course Terrifier. With his 3 short films, 4 full-length movies, so much, and an upcoming video game, he has so much potential for being a horror icon. And we haven't had a new one since what? Ghostface or Saw? Yeah, I think so. I think that was the last time we really had a new icon. The last time an icon was born was Jigsaw. And yeah, maybe there's an argument for the Annabelle doll, but I don't think she makes it just because all of her movies kind of suck. But on to the main point. Terrifier, I don't believe, is just straight out torture porn. Sure, it features some torture porn, no one's denying that. But calling it just sloppy torture porn content would be a misunderstanding of everything it stands for. Now, I think one of the main features of torture porn are just how mean it is. Like mean, cruel movies, like Saw 7 slash Saw 3D and Hostel. I like those two movies, but yeah, they're mean torture porn films. Terrifier is not a mean film. Maybe this is a controversial opinion, but I don't think it's mean. Yeah, okay, Art brutally murders people, but he doesn't remain stoic and cold like Jason or Michael, nor does he bully his victims like Krueger. He'll taunt them, but he won't flat out bully them. The closest this franchise gets to this is when Art shoots Tara in the 2016 film, but other than this moment, Art keeps the franchise light, not making it too serious. Now, if he made everything serious when he killed, this would constitute making Terrifier a mean, gritty torture porn film. But no, Art makes sure the audience isn't completely terrified by his antics, keeping every scene semi-light and enjoyable, with how just silly he is, and how he is basically a mime. With all that being said, the series is still very gory and very graphic. And obviously, if there were real killings, we would not talk about it like this. We would look at it with disgust, and we would hope that whoever does the killings gets tortured and killed, and they can feel the victim's pain. But this is a movie, okay? It's not real, and we should treat it like that. And thankfully for David Howard Thornton, he makes it so Art is not a completely hateable villain, kind of like how Freddy Krueger is in some of his later movies. And he keeps Art entertaining to watch. Damien Leone has built a masterpiece. There's no denying that. Now, this franchise is also incredibly controversial, an incredibly controversial masterpiece. I don't think that's fair for anybody involved in it, especially Leone. Now, firstly, it's considered sexist and transphobic, specifically the 2016 film and the one scene where Art kind of cross dresses. Now, I and many others don't agree that this film is that, but I don't want to get controversial and political, which this topic really shouldn't be, but that's how society works. But we're not going to linger on this point. Now, people also hate it for being torture porn, which we already established. It's not entirely. I understand why people may not like this film, or why they might turn it off, or why they might dislike it because of its gore. And that is 100% fair. This film is definitely not for everybody. Just like I Saw, Hostel, Human Centipede, they're not for everybody either. But a lot of people hate this film with a burning passion, which I don't believe is fair in the slightest. Now, Okay, I'm not gonna act like an angel because there are some films I hate with a burning passion. But trust me when I say those films deserve it. Nagatoro. Um, but Damien Leone made this from the ground up. He treats this franchise as his child, and all throughout, he did not submit to big corporations that would blur his vision. Directors and filmmakers who don't sell their product but make it pure to their original vision, even when it loses them so much money, is something I respect deeply. There's nothing I respect more in film. The MPA is. I quite dislike the MPA. They censor films, they remove the artist's original vision. Please don't sue me, MPA, okay? But they're a mess, okay? They censor freedom of speech, freedom of expression in America, and they make artists blur the original vision. And I can respect the Saw franchise and on this topic, Terrifier, for not submitting to them, for being like, you know what, fuck you. We're gonna do our own thing. I don't care if you like it or not. Don't even bother rating us. I know you won't. We'll take that. We'll take no rating, and there's nothing the MPA can do about it. Terrifier doing their own thing is especially great in today's film climate. It would be one thing in the 2000s, but today, it's incredible. With so many Hollywood studios pumping out absolute slop, like generic kid slop, think anything Illumination makes, or generic PG-13 movies with big name actors, think, I don't know, the new Captain America, Jurassic World, Red One, um, Uncharted. I could keep going. They're too scared to take risks, and you always hear stories about directors getting butthurt after the studio blurs their vision. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this happened in Star Wars. Disney blurred the original guy's vision. This will never happen to Terrifier, as Damien won't make the mistake to sell the rights in the first place. He's gone on record to say this several times. Now, sure, some of these films in this franchise don't constitute as particularly good by any standards. Hollow's Eve wasn't that good. But I actually thought Terrifier 2 was the worst of the franchise due to how it drags and it's full of messy lore. I like the first more. Don't get me wrong, I still liked Terrifier 2, but it was certainly the worst, in my very unpopular opinion, in the franchise. Now, you can like films and respect them while still acknowledging they're not good, which I do a lot. And this trait is probably the best trait a movie fan can have. And it is so annoying when people lack this trait and they think that whatever they like, undisputed masterpiece, peak movie, no problems, absolute peak. For example, I actually liked Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, but that film was so shit, everything about it was shit, but I still liked it. Not saying that Terrifier 2 is even close to as bad as Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, though. Hopefully, I've convinced you of a couple things. Terrifier is so much more than just torture porn. Okay, it's a story of a man carving his own path, not relying on big name studios, but relying on crowdfunding and his friends. He brought his OC to life with no restraints. It's horror, suspense, comedy, and a little bit of torture porn. I respect and like every film in this franchise too, from The Ninth Circle to Terrifier 3, despite not all of them being necessarily good. And I know I'm not alone when I'm saying I cannot wait for Damien Leone's Terrifier 4. Make sure you like and subscribe if you agree with what I've said, or leave a comment below with your opinion. Negative or not, it helps my engagement. Also, follow me on Letterboxd, because Letterboxd is peak. Camden8030 with a K. So, thank you guys for listening to me ramble on about Terrifier and why it is a pretty good film series.